The conversation around Tisha Scott has reached a point where people are no longer holding back. What we are seeing now is not quiet criticism or small opinions. It is direct, loud, and very clear. The panel discussion brought out something that many viewers have been thinking for a long time, but now it is being said openly and without filters. The focus is no longer just on one scene or one argument. It is about a pattern that people feel has been building over time. When the panel started breaking down the situation between Tisha and Destiny, it immediately became clear where they stood. There was no confusion in their tone. They felt that Tisha was wrong, and not just slightly wrong, but completely off in how she handled the situation. What stood out the most was how they described her behavior. Words like immature, insecure, and even chaotic were used, and those words carried weight because they matched what many viewers have already been noticing. The situation between Tisha and Destiny did not come out of nowhere. It built up over time, and when it finally reached that breaking point, it showed a side of Tisha that people feel she can no longer hide. The panel made it clear that this was not just about one argument. It was about how she approaches conflict, how she reacts when challenged, and how she presents herself in those moments. One of the biggest points that came out of the discussion was the idea that Tisha seemed determined to argue. It was not just that she disagreed with Destiny. It was the way she held on to that disagreement and kept pushing it, even when there were chances to calm things down. That kind of behavior makes people question the intention behind it. Was it about solving a problem, or was it about creating more conflict? At the same time, Destiny was being described very differently. The panel pointed out that she seemed calm, measured, and willing to listen. She gave Tisha space to speak, allowed her to express her feelings, and did not immediately react with the same level of intensity. That contrast made the situation stand out even more. When one person is calm and the other is heated, it changes how the audience sees both sides. This is where the idea of maturity came into the conversation. The panel felt that Destiny came across as the more mature person in that moment, not because she was perfect, but because she showed control. She did not let the situation push her into reacting in the same way. That kind of control is something viewers notice quickly, especially in a show where emotions are often high. On the other hand, Tisha's reactions made people question her mindset. The panel suggested that her behavior may be coming from a deeper place, not just anger in the moment, but something more personal. The idea of insecurity came up more than once, and it was not said lightly. It was explained as something that may have been building over time. There was also a strong point made about Tisha unlocking a different side of herself. The comparison to her mother, Wanda, was brought up, and it added another layer to the conversation. It suggested that the way Tisha reacts when she is upset may not be new, but something she has been holding back until now. And now that it is coming out strongly. This idea connects to something many viewers have noticed before. Tisha has often tried to present herself in a certain way, calm, controlled, and put together. But when situations push her, that image starts to crack, and once it cracks, it reveals something different underneath. That is what people feel they are seeing now. Another important part of the discussion was how Tisha handled her words during the argument. The comment she made, calling Destiny something offensive and then later trying to downplay it, did not sit well with the panel. They pointed out that this is something that happens often in conflict. Someone says something hurtful, and when it is called out, they try to make it seem smaller than it was. That kind of behavior can feel unfair. It puts the other person in a difficult position. If they react, they are seen as overreacting. If they stay quiet, the comment goes unchallenged. This is why the panel saw it as a form of manipulation, even if it was not intended that way. The idea of projection was also mentioned. This means that sometimes people react strongly to things that reflect something they feel inside. If someone feels insecure, they may see problems where there are none. They may react to situations more strongly because of what they are already dealing with internally. This brings us back to the idea that this situation is not just about one moment. It is about a pattern. The way Tisha reacts, the way she communicates, and the way she handles conflict all connect together. And when those patterns become visible, people start forming stronger opinions. Another interesting point from the panel was how they described the balance of power in the conversation. They suggested that Tisha may have been trying to use anger as a way to feel more in control. When someone feels unsure or insecure, raising their voice or becoming more aggressive can feel like a way to take control of the situation. But the problem with that approach is that it often has the opposite effect. Instead of showing strength, it can make someone appear less stable. And that is exactly what the panel felt was happening here. Instead of gaining control, Tisha lost control of how she was being seen. At the same time, Destiny's calm approach gave her an advantage. It made her look more confident and more secure in herself. Even if she was feeling emotional inside, the way she handled the situation on the outside created a strong impression. The panel also touched on the idea that this moment may have changed how people see both of them moving forward. In reality television, one scene can shift everything. It can change public opinion, affect relationships, and create new storylines. For Tisha, this moment may become something that follows her, not just because of what happened, but because of how it was perceived. Once an audience forms a strong opinion, it can be hard to change it. For Destiny, this moment may work in her favor. It showed her in a different light. It highlighted her ability to stay calm and handle pressure. That kind of image can strengthen how people see her going forward. Another layer to all of this is how long-time viewers are reacting compared to newer viewers. People who have been watching from the beginning may feel like this moment confirms what they have already believed. They may see it as proof of patterns they noticed before. Newer viewers, on the other hand, are forming their opinions based on what they are seeing now. And because this moment is so strong, it can shape their entire view of the situation. This shows how powerful current episodes can be in shaping public opinion. The role of the panel itself is also important. They are not just sharing opinions, they are influencing how people think about what they saw. Their words, their tone, and their analysis all add to the conversation. When they describe someone as insecure or immature, it gives viewers language to explain what they are seeing. It helps shape the narrative. And once that narrative is set, it spreads quickly. At the same time, it is important to remember that these are still opinions. They are based on what was shown, but they are not the full story. There are always things happening behind the scenes that viewers do not see. Even so, perception often matters more than reality in situations like this. What people believe becomes more important than what actually happened. And right now, the perception is very strong. As the show continues, it will be interesting to see how this situation develops. Will Tisha address the criticism? Will she change how she approaches conflict? Or will this pattern continue? For Destiny, the question is also important. Will she continue to handle situations in the same calm way? Or will future conflicts bring out a different side of her? These questions are what keep viewers engaged. They want to see what happens next. They want to understand the people they are watching. And they want to see how these situations evolve. In the end, this moment is more than just an argument between two people. It is a turning point in how they are both being seen. It is a reflection of deeper issues, patterns, and emotions that have been building over time. And as long as those patterns continue to show, the conversation will not stop. People will keep talking, keep analyzing, and keep forming opinions, because moments like this do not fade quickly. They stay, they grow, and they shape everything that comes next. As the discussion keeps growing, more people are starting to look beyond just that one scene and focus on the bigger picture. It is no longer only about what Tisha said or how Destiny reacted in that moment. It is about what this moment represents in the overall dynamic of the show. When a situation reaches this level of attention, it becomes a reference point. People start using it to explain past behavior and even predict future actions. One thing that stands out clearly is how quickly the audience connects patterns. Viewers are not just watching for entertainment anymore. They are paying attention to behavior over time. So when Tisha reacts in a certain way, people immediately link it to previous moments. They start saying this is not new. This is who she has been all along. That kind of labeling can be powerful because once it sticks, it becomes hard to break. At the same time, there is also a growing focus on accountability. The panel did not just criticize Tisha for the sake of it. They were pointing out that at some point, a person has to take responsibility for how they act. It is not enough to explain behavior by saying it comes from insecurity or past experiences. People still expect growth. They expect someone to recognize their actions and adjust. This is where the pressure starts to build. Because now it is not just about one disagreement. It is about whether Tisha is willing to reflect on how she is being seen. If she continues to respond in the same way, it will only confirm what people are already saying. But if she shows awareness and change, it could shift the narrative. Another interesting part of this situation is how the audience reacts emotionally. People are not neutral, they are choosing sides. Some strongly support Destiny, while others still defend Tisha. But even among those who support Tisha, there is often an acknowledgement that her behavior in that moment was difficult to defend. This split in the audience creates more conversation. It keeps the topic active because there is no single agreement. Everyone has something to say, and that keeps the energy around the situation alive. The role of emotions in all of this cannot be ignored. Reality television works because it connects with people on an emotional level. When viewers see conflict, they relate it to their own experiences. They think about times when they felt misunderstood, attacked, or insecure. That connection makes their reactions stronger. For some viewers, Tisha's behavior may remind them of someone they know. For others, Destiny's calm approach may feel more relatable. These personal connections influence how people judge the situation. It is not just about what happened on screen. It is about how it makes people feel. Another layer that is starting to come into focus is how conflict is used in reality television. Conflict drives attention. It creates moments that people talk about. But at the same time, it can also shape how people are seen in ways that are hard to control. When a person is shown in a negative light repeatedly, it can become their identity in the eyes of the audience. Even if there are positive moments, they may not get the same attention. This creates an imbalance that affects public perception.